Hello humans and extraterrestrials. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag for 2020. I have lots of books here that I'm going to talk to you about. Again, as is obvious in my description, there is the link to my Google Doc full of resources for Black Lives Matter. Just because social media isn't super interesting anymore doesn't mean it's not important, and I would highly advise you to go and look if you have not, or pick a new book to read or a show to watch or something at least to, if you're not, to make yourself, to get yourself as educated as possible. But anyway, there are 14 questions, and I have, I think, 12 books maybe, 13 books mayhaps, but we're just gonna get to it. So the first question is the best book you've read so far in 2020. This was really difficult. I've had a very good reading year so far, mostly because I know my own tastes and I tend to buy really well. But the one that I've picked this year so far is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This book owns my heart. It's got fantastic rep for queer characters, and there were just so many of them that I just related to so much, and the story's slightly, like, it has a Welcome to Night Vale vibe, which is always great, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I would highly recommend anyone to read it. Truly, it's brilliant, and the lack of romance really made me happy because every YA has a romance, and I mean there was like little ones, but the main character didn't have to fall in love with the boy, which is my favourite thing. So, the next question is the best sequel you've read so far. So, for this I have Clockwork Prince, which is the second book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. This book was also fantastic. It looks like I'm going to be mostly blue, but I promise I'm not. Although there are quite a few actually. Anyway, this is part of the Shadowhunters universe, and I honestly couldn't tell you a lot because as I did a book talk on the whole series. I will link it up in the cards, but as I said, most of these books have been smooshed together in my head. However, this was absolutely fantastic and I loved it, and there was stuff we found out about Will, and I love Will as a character and I think he's fantastic, so this was brilliant for that. It's good urban fantasy. I love urban fantasy. It's great. Okay. I'm really bad at these like book tags. I'm so much better at reviewing. But anyway, a new release you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, so we need to. If you know me, you're aware that new release means like in the last 3 years for me. So I have a book that came out last year and won a prize last year. Let's say when it came out specifically. Maybe not. But it had a huge boost on BookTube at the start of this year. And this is Bernardine Evaristo, Girl, Woman, Other. I've not read it yet. I got it at the start of the year and it looks fantastic. And firstly, isn't this cover the most gorgeous thing? But I'm just so excited about it, but I've not gotten around to it yet because I don't know, my book tastes have taken me other places. But it's about these 8 women, I believe 8 women, and their stories as they live in Britain, and they kind of intermingle, and it just seems fantastic. It just seems fantastic, and I'm quite excited about it, but I've not gotten to it yet. So, the next question you have was most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So for that, I'm going to show you the first book. It's a sequel. It's a sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, so it is called A Beautifully Foolish Endeavour. I'm going to put this back. That first book is basically about a girl who finds a statue in New York that wasn't there the last time she was there and goes viral, and they turn out to be this weird kind of, it turns from like a contemporary, it has one side which is a contemporary story about sort of fame and stuff, and then there's this other side that's all about sci-fi and is all science fiction and about kind of weird alien magic, kind of that sort of stuff. It's great. That first book was so good, and I have pre-ordered the sequel, and I'm so damn excited about it. I'm also pretty sure I ordered a signed copy, which is also fantastic. I'm very excited. Okay, so the next one is the biggest disappointment. So this, I, here's the thing is I have multiple disappointments, unfortunately. I'm not going to talk about this one because I think it's mean. We're going to talk about a classic, I guess classic, like a modern classic. And this was, I think, the first book I read this year, which is Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. So this book, I think I gave it 2 or 3 stars. I really didn't like it. I thought I was going to love it because the concept's really interesting to me, but I think just the way it was, I don't know, I just don't think I liked the way that it was written. I loved like the last 40 pages. The last 40 pages were great, but start, and that really wasn't my thing. If you don't know, this is about a guy called, I think his name's Guy, yeah, Guy Montag, who basically lives in a world where firefighters don't fight fire, they burn books, which is less cool. Or firemen, I guess, not firefighters. Yeah, destroy all the most illegal of commodities, books. So, and this is the story of kind of him realizing that that's wrong and kind of going through and like, I have respect for it. I respect Ray Bradbury. I just don't think I like the execution of this. I can't besmirch its name because it's a classic and I have respect for it, but it wasn't for me, I guess. This is also a great edition. The copy's really pretty. So, yes, the next one was The Biggest Surprise. And this is gonna be, I need to explain this, but this is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So obviously everyone talks about The Hunger Games, or they did back in like 2012, and how great it was and how it was the best book ever and the series was fantastic and the films were really good. I don't know. I don't like dystopian, generally speaking. Obviously, this was when everyone was big into dystopian, so it was a different situation. However, I just didn't think I was going to like this, but I absolutely loved it. I've talked about this on my channel already, I think. Yeah, I talked about it last month, or the month before. It was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant, and I was so surprised by it. For the better, thankfully. So yes, that. Also, The Hunger Games, if you again are somehow out of the loop, is about a girl called Katniss who basically gets put forward for the Hunger Games, which is basically like a PvP free-for-all fighting thing. A battle royale if you're a young child and love Fortnite. It's like that, but real and terrifying. So, yeah, it's really good and like horrible in the best way to read. So yeah. The next one is a favorite new author. Now this is technically not a new author to me or in life. However, excuse me, this is a return. My love for her has returned. So this is Carrie Hope Fletcher, and this is the book I've shown you, which is All That She Can See. This is the first book of hers I've read since her first book was released back in whenever it was released, back in years and years and years ago. I think like 2014 or 15, when the first book was released. This came out in like 2017. It's also a floppy book, unfortunately. Damn it. But yes, I really enjoyed this, and I really like Carrie's writing, and I own another one of hers. I'll show you. Called When the Curtain Falls, which is a ghost showmance, and I don't know if you would ever not want to read that. But this is about a girl called, the book that I read that reignited my love for her is about a girl called Cherry who, I've explained this 100 times, girl called Cherry who basically can see people's negative emotions in a physical manifestation, not as in like hunched shoulders, but as in like there are creatures that represent people's anxiety, depression, like fear, etc. Hate, all of the bad ones. And she has found a way in which she can try and alleviate those feelings, which is through baking. And that is what she does, and that is fine. And she moves town to town and tries to make the townspeople feel better until someone realizes what she's doing. And then things ensue. It's very good. The next one is the newest fictional crush. And again, we're going to be talking about the Infernal Devices because I fell in love with Tessa Gray the first time I read this book. Truly fell so hard for this woman. Also, like, literally most of the characters in this book. Tessa owns my heart. So does Jem. Will kind of doesn't. I think he's cool, and reading about him's dope, and I think he's such a great character, and I would kill for him, but platonically. So, yeah. Tessa's the main character in the series. If you're unaware, she is our point of view character, and she's such a badass and so cool. This also isn't new, but it did also reignite my love for Magnus Bane, which, as if you know me, you will know that is just always going to be there in my heart. So, this. The next one is my newest favourite character, which I don't know. I don't have an answer for this because I love so many characters. I think it's likely someone from the Hunger Games. I think it's probably, if we're being honest, like Katniss or Johanna or someone like the which doesn't apply in this book, but in this series. I don't know. That's the thing, is I genuinely have no idea because I just love all the characters that I read about, minus the ones that I'm not supposed to like. I really love Katniss, and I think I fell in love with Peeta as a character. I really like Peeta, so I think maybe he's my new favourite character. I don't know. That's the thing, is they're all great. I don't know. But I think we're gonna go with Peeta, I think. The next question, the next prompt is a book that made you cry. So, This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone. Whew! This book is very short. And it's very short. I cried so much from this book this year. I was going to give you another one, but I realised that I read it at the tail end of last year, so it doesn't quite count. But, which was, They Both Die at the End by Anna Silvera, which also got me good. But this was at the very start of this year. It might be the second book I read this year, I think. And it was just so damn good. This is about lesbians falling in love through time travel. I say lesbians, queer women falling in love through time travel. Women love women time travel romance. If that isn't your thing, if that doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what does. But they leave letters to each other through time and in the places they know they're gonna be because they're time travel. It's so cool. It's such a cool concept, but also so emotional. There's the last few scenes made me completely weep. I fully wept. It was, I'm not ashamed to say that it made me weep. It was a lot. So yeah. The next one is a book that made you happy, and for that, moving on to our cheery side, is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman. Yay! Good fun times. This is a book about Lyra Belacqua, who also might be my newest favourite character because I think she's so cool. Who basically, she lives in an alternative version of Oxford, and her destiny takes her places. It's kind of like a fantasy, I guess middle grade or young adult. I guess young adult is what you would call it, because it's more for people my age than for 11-year-olds. And it's just good. It's just so damn good. It was just made me smile. The characters made me laugh, and it was just good, man. I really enjoyed it. The last prompt for a specific book is what is the most beautiful the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year / received. So this was difficult because I have a lot of gorgeous books, but the one I picked was Heidi by Janice Spirey. I got this collection, which is the, what's it called, Puffin and Bloom collection, which has this and 3 other like classic children's books. They're all fantastic, but I think the yellow just really drew me to this one because it's this, Little Women, Anne of Green Gables, and A Little Princess. And all the covers are gorgeous. A Little Princess's one is also particularly beautiful, but I think the yellow just drew me and I was like, it's just so good. Like it fits the vibe from the people I know who've read this. It fits the vibe very well. And it's so gorgeous. Like the foiling on the lettering is brilliant. I love the little art on this. The woman who did all these is Anna Bond, and honestly I wish I had that level of talent, because all the little people on these covers have similar like styles and they're all gorgeous, and then there's cute flowers, and it's so pretty. Like, how can a book be that pretty? I do not know is the answer. But yeah, the next question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I don't know if they mean this literally, but I will bring you some. I didn't have the hands to do it before. I'm back. I have 6 physical books and 2 audiobooks. I'm going to do the audiobooks first. So firstly, I'm still listening to Becoming by Michelle Obama, which I need to finish this year because I started it at the start of the year and I think I'm about halfway through. I really hope I finish it. I've been listening to it very slowly, but I've been listening to other books as well, so we'll see. And the other one is Natives by Akala, which is it's a book for my own educational purposes. So it's about basically the history of Black people in, well, not the history, it's half kind of memoir, half like fiction, like history. It's interesting. Akala tells tales of both his childhood as a mixed race but part Black kid, and he talks both about his childhood and about the history and recent history of the UK being a racist country. So that, I think it's super important to read about that. Speaking of reading about race, Rennie Edo Lodge's Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race is one that literally arrived today, and I don't think by the end of the year, as soon as I goddamn can, is when this is going to get read. I need to read. I've given myself a sort of kick in the arse that I need to read more books by people of colour and in general, but also specifically ones talking about racism and about prejudice, because I don't read them enough, and that is my own fault. And I want to be better with it because I want to educate myself, and I also want to be able to read books from different perspectives than mine. So this is one of those. This was super well known. This was Sunday Times bestseller, and it's basically about, in the UK particularly, I believe, the sort of like the ideology that racism doesn't exist here, which is not true, but that a lot of white British folk seem to just think it doesn't happen here, or we're better than that. That's horrible. That happens in America, or that happens in other like Western countries. It doesn't happen here, which isn't correct, and we need to rectify that backwards thinking, because pretending it doesn't exist doesn't mean it isn't there. The next one I have is also for similar purposes but slightly different, and that's Audre Lorde's Sister Outsider. So this is a essay collection. Audre Lorde was she was an activist. Let me read the thing. There's a thing in the front that explains it. Audre Lorde was a writer, feminist, and civil rights activist, or as she famously put it, Black lesbian mother warrior poet. She was born in, I think, New York? New York in 1934, she had her first poem published while she was still in high school. After stints as a factory worker, ghostwriter, social worker, x-ray technician, medical clerk, and arts and crafts supervisor, she became a librarian in Manhattan and gradually rose to prominence as a poet, essayist, and speaker. Anthologized by Langston Hughes, lauded by Adrian Rich, and befriended by James Baldwin. She was made Poet Laureate of New York State in 1991 when she was awarded the Walt Whitman Prize. She was also awarded honorary doctorates from Hunter, Oberlin, and Haverford College. She died of cancer in 1992, age 58. So, she's an activist, or she was an activist, and I would really love to read what she has to say. Because I think, again, expanding your own horizons is very important, and this is something that I think also partly the cover drew me in. Before I'd even read, I looked at it and was like, that's a cool cover, I want that, and then I actually read and was like, this is important, I should get this. So, this. The next are slightly less personal growth, more like, I want to be a teacher, so I need to read these. So, for example, Little Women, this is so much more beautiful a cover than the version that I showed you in my last video talking about it. This is part of the Puffin and Bloom series, along with Heidi and the others, and it's gorgeous. It's such a pretty book. I need to read it for my dissertation. I'm getting there, but it's just so damn pretty as well. But yes, Little Women is the story of the 4 March sisters, and basically they're growing up. Pretty much. They're coming to womanhood or whatever. So yes, this. I also want to, it's not really a need. The word need is not, I don't like that. But I have 3 books that I want to have definitely read. One of which is The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. It's like your classic alien invasion story. One of the first, not the first sci-fi, Mary Shelley icon. But this is one that I need to read. Just because I'd like to have read it. Frankly, the same with the others. So, Dracula by Bram Stoker. Similar reasons. It's a classic, and I'm sorry, there's lots of dust. It's a classic, and I would like to have read it. And the same for Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, because I would like to have read it, and also because it's a family member's favourite book. So, this. So, the last question is, your favourite, or prompt is your favourite book community member. So I'm going to take that to mean booktuber, because I don't really engage a lot in book Twitter or book Instagram. I have a bookstagram. I don't use it very frequently, however. So I would say, I believe her name, or their name is Bowties and Books, or Books and Bowties. One or the other. But they are I think Mexican booktuber who talk a lot about representation, both in terms of race, sexuality and gender, and trans identities, queer identities, etc. And I discovered their content recently, and I just love the way they talk about books, but I also I love their recommendations. I just love everything about their channel. I think it's great, and I have so much love for it, and I would highly recommend you go check out their content. But that is all I've got. I'm not even going to try to show you the pile, because there are too many books here, especially considering these ones as well. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Please remember to drink your water, eat your vegetables, and peace out, I guess.